Association of Pakistan to share his views. Zishan Tariq sir. Zishan sir, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
Zishan sir, I guess there are mute here. Okay.
Junaid sir, can you?
Ji sir, we can hear you now.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Junaid Feroz, Mr. Nasir Hamid, the Trade Minister in Embassy of Pakistan in Russia, Dr. Hamad Ali and Mr. Zakir Jafar for arranging this webinar. It's a huge opportunity for our members to enter in this market. As Dr. Hamad Ali said, that the export to Russian Federation or Russia is just like peanuts if we compare the whole value of the instruments they buy from all over the world. And in fact, they are buying indirectly all our instruments indirectly from different countries, especially from Germany and France and United Kingdom. Let me introduce our industry. We are a 100-year-old manufacturing industry and comprising of mainly SMEs. Mostly our members are small and comprises of small industries from 5 to 15 or 20 laborers in each company. Russia is a huge market for us. It's a huge potential. We attend exhibitions all over the world, and there are many, many customers who come to us for to buy our products. But the main hurdle to enter this market is the registration. As Dr. Hamad Ali said, it is a long process, a very painful process, and the charges are too much. And also there is a lot of confusion because on SIMA platform, we try to consult from some consultants. Hear me?
Yes. The voice is breaking, Sean sir.
अब आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
जी अब आ रही है.
Okay. So there are many confusions. This webinar would help to solve a lot of them because we need to know that mostly our understanding is that our instruments fall into class 1 category. What are the charges? What is the registration process? What are the documents required for that registration and how long it will take? And we would like to seek help from Trade Development Authority of Pakistan.
Zishan sir, please unmute your mic.
Ji, can you hear me now?
Ji, we can hear you.
Okay. So it's as explained before, it's a huge market, and we can increase our exports multiple times, but the main hurdle is registrations and also the confusion regarding the registrations, because we need to know that does our instruments fall in class 1 category? What are the charges? What are the documents required? So I hope this webinar will help us solve all these confusions and mysteries. And we also seek help from TDAP and Embassy of Pakistan in Russia to help us out in the registration process, because it's a huge market, and if there is a chance I think we can, our total exports currently are around 400 million US dollars all over the world. But if we enter in this market and we do the registration uh, for our members, I hope we can export only 400 million dollars to Russia and Russian Federation, because the registration process is same for all the countries around Russia, which are called the Russian Federation. So I hope this webinar will help us a lot and answer multiple questions for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zishan sir. Now I would like to request Mr. Nasir Hamid, Minister Trade Russia, to share the overview of surgical, dental, medical import market of the Russian Federation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Junaid. Firstly, I will formally thanking Junaid, Hamid, TDAP, the association, Mr. Eager for their promptness in organization of this webinar. I just spoke 3-4 days ago with the association, and they were very forthcoming to the proposal of having this webinar as soon as possible. A lot has already been said about the Russian market. I will just briefly touch that. And the main objective of this webinar was to familiarize our industry with the registration process. And we will give sufficient time to Mr. Eager to explain that process and to answer the questions. And I believe that the Director General of the company will also be there at the session, question answer session, to address the questions from Mr. Eager's company. Since 2014, Russia started a program of import substitution. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Oh. So I was telling that since 2014, Russia has started an import substitution process. As a result of this process, the local manufacturing of medicines went up to about 40%. But as far as the surgical, dental, veterinary instruments is concerned, 88% of the demand is met by importing these products. Russian imports in 2019 of these products were $1.17 billion. And I'll get to precise harmonized code like HS code 90189090. These are the products which has been exported from Pakistan, and Russian imports were $472 million in 2019. And our total exports from Pakistan are around $400 million. So the point is that if this issue of registration, I can understand that this is a cottage or small scale industry, and it's difficult for the instruments manufacturers to bear these costs and the time frame which can extend up to more than a year. So what I have been doing since 2017, I have been recommending to Ministry of Commerce that subsidy may be provided to the companies who want to register their product in Russian Federation. I recommended to make it a part of the trade policy. In 2018, I was in contact with the association, and I requested them to take up this matter with Ministry of Commerce as well. And during our discussion, telephonic conversation with Mr. Zishan, I again recommended them. So I have always been proposing this, that the government of Pakistan through EDF should provide subsidy. And even few of our manufacturers in the first place are able to get their instruments registered here. They will, I mean, there is a lot of potential. Okay. There is a lot of potential. And our instruments are very well known because they are being re-exported by Germany or by France or by UK, those who have got their registered here. Our exports in 2019 were just 6 million, I believe, out of which 0.6 million was dental instruments and 5.5 million was the other part of the instrument. issues, obviously, there are two. One, I have spoken with many companies, many exporters, and I have invited over some of them as well. Some of them even visited me twice, and we had meetings with the companies so that they can get their products registered here. But perhaps they shied away because of these costs and the time which was being told that how much time it takes. So we need to, I mean, TDAB will endorse this point as well, that we need to push our industry and expand our help in terms of providing them subsidy for registration of the instruments of their members. I mean, there can be a mechanism devised by TDAB and by association how to go about it. But the first thing is to get it approved. There used to be an expo. Due to COVID, it is not taking place. No, nothing is taking place. Dental expo, and our exhibitors were coming there regularly on that dental expo. Even during all those in exhibitions, all the visitors, their first question was that they are aware of the quality of the instruments Pakistan is being manufacturing. They just don't buy it, can't import it because these are not registered. So that is basically the overview of the market. Now I think we should proceed further so that we can give more time to Mr. Eager to explain the procedure of registration. Hello.
Thank you, sir. Since Mr. Jahangir Bajwa won't be able to attend this webinar due to some urgency, so now I would like to request Mr. Aigar StartSafe, Customer Service Specialist, to share registration procedure with regard to Russian market.
And Junaid, Mr. Eager would like to show a presentation as well.
Sir.
So please assist him so he can.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Good day, everyone. I'm representing company Quality. They are making services of registration and certification, consulting service of registration and certification medical devices in Russian Federation. So during my presentation, I'm going to explain the rules of this process in Russian. Okay, let me show you. Excuse me, I may ask you the organization to turn on demonstration of screen because it's still turned off.
Junaid?
Yes, sir. We are doing it right now.
It's still don't-able. Okay.
Mr. Aigar, please share your screen now.
Yes, yes. It's, just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Can you see the presentation at the moment?
No.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. And now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, I'd like to explain what's the meaning of medical device according to Russian law. It's any instrument, apparatus, appliances, equipment, materials, and other devices used for medical purposes alone or in combination with each other, as well as with other accessories required for use of these devices for their purpose, including special software and decision by the manufacturer for the prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and rehabilitation and diseases, monitoring the state and so on. So the medical device in Russia, it's also dental instruments, surgical instruments, So everything that can be used in healthcare. If talking about veterinary instruments, they are not medical devices. Okay, it's clear. The next one. About registration process. First of all, who can be an applicant for registration? The applicant can be only the company which is resident of the Russian Federation. So if it's a foreign company would like to register medical devices, it can do this only from the authorization representative in Russia, which acts by powers of attorney. Okay, it's clear. The next, what about types of medical devices? Medical devices in Russia are divided by two main criteria. It's on classes, depending on potential risk, and by types, which are depending on special nomenclature classification of medical devices. The next, what about risk class? There are four types of risk classes in Russia: first class, class 2A, class 2B, and third class. It's degree by risk level. And I'll talk about this later, but if we're talking about medical devices with first class, they are a little bit easier to register than others. Okay, the next is dividing by types. Every type of medical devices has their unique identification number and name and description. So this classification you can this classificator you can find on a website of Roszdravnadzor. Roszdravnadzor is a special state service which make registration of medical devices. The analog of Ministry of Health in Pakistan. So the main information that in one registration certificate can be only one type of medical devices with its unique registration code. The next, the first step when we're talking about registration of foreign international medical device is getting permission for import of medical device in the purposes of making tests and registration. To make permission of to get permission of import, we must to make conclusion with testing organization, with laboratory, which we apply to submission. So we apply copies of agreements of necessary testing, medical device name, including components, quantity, manufacturing number, lot, batch number, production days, and expiry. And copy of the document which confirms powers of manufacturing authorized representatives. After that, if the documents are enough, Roszdravnadzor makes decision for giving permission for import of medical device for the purpose testing for registration. The next. First of all, we need to prepare needed documents which be the part of registration dossier, which we give to the Roszdravnadzor. So this document should be first of all is documents, registration documents of the manufacturer. Then you have to get powers of attorney of your authorized representative. And then you have got technical file of risk management and instruction of exploitation manual. All these documents should be legalized through the apostillization or through or by embassy. Okay, after and what if we're talking about technical file exploitation manual and the risk file management, it should be done in accordance with Russian legislation. So our company, first of all, makes these documents in accordance with Russian legislation and then give to Signia season for manufacturer. After that, when all technical and legal documents are ready, we starting technical and toxical tests. So this test can be made only in Russian laboratory, which have special accreditation by Roszdravnadzor. Okay, when the test reports are ready and all another documents, we start in stage 1 of registration medical devices. So we send registration dossier in Roszdravnadzor. First of all, Roszdravnadzor review these documents. If there are some violations, it makes remarks and give a term for the manufacturer to eliminate these remarks. After that, Roszdravnadzor sent registration dossier to the expert organization, which examinates all technical and test report documents. In this part, they can also make remarks or request additional materials and information, and give for the manufacturer term for eliminate them. If manufacturer in a given time eliminate these remarks, expert organization give permission to conduct clinical trials. If it's not done on this time, they refuse instead registration. In this case, you can send documents a second time, but all state fee should be paid in you another time. After that, we get permission to conduct clinical trials, so we can start these clinical trials. About clinical trials. Clinical trials can be conducted in two forms. Trials involving human subjects, patients, or by clinical evaluation and analysis of clinical data. So, in which cases should be make trials involving human subjects? If there is a new type of medical device which has no analogs which have registration certificate in Russia, or if the use of new complex or unique and special methods of the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of diseases and conditions, as well as the use of new and complex medical technologies, or if during the analysis and evaluation of clinical data, the efficacy and safety of a medical device are not confirmed. But as I know, the mostly medical devices have clinical trials by clinical evaluation and analysis. It's 99%, you can say. Okay, after when the clinical trials are finished, we make application for renewal of state registration, and we start in stage 2. The same Roszdravnadzor review all documents, and expert organization make examination on quality and effectiveness and safety of medical devices. If there are some remarks too, they give time to eliminate them. If we eliminate all remarks in term, the Rosdratnadzor makes decision of the state registration, and then he gives to the manufacturer, but not manufacturer, but authority representatives, the registration certificate. If we're talking about first risk class, there is not needed to get in permission for clinical trials. So registration makes only in one stage. So it's what about the registration process? Now I should tell you about terms. Mostly, if we're talking about first class of risk, it takes to from 9 months to 1 year, plus minus. If you're talking about risk classes to A, to B, and third class, it takes to registrate between 1 or 1.5 years. Now, what about costs? For example, if you're talking about surgical instruments or dental, mostly our services price is from $8,000. It's for our service. Also, you have to pay state fees for registration. So this state fee consists from risk class. So first class it's nearby $1,700. To A class it's $1,100. To B class it's $1,100, and third class is well, $1,500. It's about state fees. Also, there is a cost for transportation of samples and for translation and legalization of documents. It's what about costs. So that's all what I'd like to say. Thank you for your attention.
Junaid?
Yes.
First, if from the participants, if there are any questions, and then you can open it to the questions.
Okay, yes, I'm sure ready to answer the question.
The forum is now open for question and answer sessions, please.
Mr. Junaid, I have a question for Mr. Eager. In fact, couple of questions. Number one is that as far as my knowledge is concerned, we do not need any certification for veterinary instruments. Do we need a certification for veterinary instruments if we want to export the products to Russia?
Yes, it's for veterinary instruments there is needed certification, but they have another process. Well, I'm specialist for about medical devices, but if we can answer you answer about your questions of process of registration veterinary instruments individual by your request, because there is another specialist in our company who makes these services. But yes, there is another procedure.
Thank you. And also, if he can share his presentation with the Surgical Association, that would be very nice. So we can share with our members, and if they have any questions or reservations, they can talk to me.
They can, if there are any questions, they can be directed to me, and I can forward it to Mr. Eager, and then the replies will be.
Sure, I can answer any questions which
Any other question from our participants?
Yes, Mr. Junaid, I have a question, if you allow me to ask.
Sure, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation. I just have a few questions, you mentioned about the registration and the dossiers and all these things. But there are always, like you were talking about clinical trials or clinical evaluations. Are there some Russian standards which we have to follow, or there are you follow the ISO standards? Because when we are preparing the dossiers, then definitely we need to follow some standards. If there are some Russian standards, then we would like to know more about those standards to prepare our dossiers. And if you in Russia you follow ISO standards, then of course we have those standards only. We would like to know which standards are required by you for the registration.
Okay. Well, in Russia there is their own standards, but they are just a minute. Well, Russian standards about clinical trials, its own Russian standards, and it should be Russian clinic which have accreditation for clinical trials. And standards are the same as international, but have their own specific.
Just in case if he needs, you can. Okay, Mr. Eager.
Yes.
Mr. Samuel is sitting with me. So if for any question you want a Russian version as well, Samuel can do for you. Mr. Samuel can do for that, so that just in case.
Just a last question from my side, Mr. Junaid, if you allow me.
Please go ahead.
Okay. While giving the presentation, he just mentioned about the testing. In some countries, there are regulations that the testing has been done in the country. Like, for example, we are talking about Russia. So the testing of our equipment, so products class 1, class 2, or class 3, the testing will be done by accredited labs in Russia, or we can get the products tested by any accredited lab all over the world for the registration.
Yeah, it's clear. Tests can be done only in Russia in laboratory which has accreditation of Roszdravnadzor, only in Russia.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, to further elaborate on these questions, as far as veterinary instruments, the process, what is the process? We will get that process and share with TDAP. We'll request Mr. Eager and we'll speak with Mr. Eager's colleague who is dealing with these veterinary registration of veterinary instruments. Standards, Mr. Eager has already replied, but some certificates like ISO 13485, 2003, ISO 9001, 2008, something. Obviously, if manufacturers already have these, it's helpful in the process. Testing, Mr. Eager has already informed that it can only be done in Russia. And as in the presentation, Mr. Eager informed that in the first phase, the application is when application is moved. If that is approved, then the samples are imported for testing. And then these clinical or these tests are conducted. And in the second phase, if they are approved, then they are registered and they can be imported into Russian Federation. Yeah, Janet, you can ask the participants any more questions.
Any more questions?
I have one question, Junaid sir.
Sir.
Can you ask Mr. Eager if there is a questionnaire that he can share with us for the registration that a TDAP and we can use as our database for people and exporters who want to export these surgical instruments in the future, right? As we have a database that we can keep handy. Yeah. Thank you.
Excuse me, could you repeat your question? I just
You got it?
My question is, if you have any standard registration questionnaire, so that we
Имеется в виду вопросник, вопросы, ответы наиболее актуальные. Если вы смогли бы предоставить им эту информацию, они бы разместили у себя на сайте. Вопросник.
я понял. Да, у нас есть такие данные, я могу вам позже предоставить. Yes, I can to give them to you. You mean fact? Frequency asked questions.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, so now I would like to request Mr. Zakir Jafar, Chairman Pak Russia Business Council, FPCCI, for vote of thanks.
Junaid, I have a couple of questions for Mr.
Sir.
Before we... Yeah, Mr. Eager, you slightly mentioned about that there are obviously three types of costs involved in the registration. One is the state fees, you have mentioned it. So Pakistan normally exports class 1, and state fees for class 1 is 45,000 rubles, which is about $600 or 700 US dollars. And the class 2 is 65,000 rubles, which is about perhaps $800 or $900. So these are the state fees. Apart from it, there are two more fees. One is translation of documents and attestation of documents. The third you mentioned was transportation cost. That means the samples which will be sent once the first stage is over and samples are being allowed to be brought in for testing. About your fee, you mentioned about something like that it starts from $8,000?
If we're talking about surgical instruments, they're mostly, yes, it's $8,000, but to make the calculation, our company need to get technical information about device, instrument or other type of device, and information about materials. According to this information, we can make a calculation, which final calculation. But plus minus, it's yes, $8,000.
Okay, so if any of our companies are interested, so they can approach you and you can give them an idea that how much time for that specific class of instruments or type of instruments. One more question, and you can give them the idea of the timing and the cost as well, which will be involved. Second, this 8,000 is for one certificate. That means it's for one class of instruments.
Yes, it's one class of instruments and one certificate.
Dossier.
Yes, but we are trying to maximalization maximum instruments devices, making one certificate. So if it's one type, it's possible to big quantity of types instruments making one certificate. If it's possible to make in one type. So one type, it's mean not only that it's one instrument, it can be a family of instruments.
So as your company has been dealing with this registration, can you quote, like, have you done these, you must have got registered these instruments for other manufacturers from other countries, or so can you just simply tell us, let's say in one dossier or in one registration certificate, maximum which number of instruments can be included based on your experience?
I know that in some reasons, it's some cases it's possible. For example, as I remember, there was cases when we 40 instruments making one registration certificate, but they were equal. It was I don't. It was dental instruments, and this is was in one family for they were used for one purpose.
Mhm.
So it's
So it's
no
basically depends on the type.
high level of instruments. It's just we have to get them to one family, so it's possible to make in one registration certificate. Sometimes it can be only one, and sometimes it can be a huge group. Well, we just use classificator, which is I have shown you previously on the website of Rosdravnadzor. There is a classificator which can show how the can be they equal in one or not.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Can I have one question, Junaid sir, please?
Sure, sir.
Well, my name is Farooq Afzal. I'm the former chairman of Pakistan Business Council. I headed this council for 10 years. Actually, my question with regards to registration is it possible, this question is with Mr. Igor, that is it possible if there is any way that we pay a sort of, normally it happens that if we pay urgent fee and the process of registration can be expedited. Is there any way to do that, or is normal process of 1 year, whatever the case it is?
Well, the 1 year it's a normal term. So if you're talking about class to A to B and cert, there wasn't cases in our practice when it was faster, because it's a normative term. When we talking about clinical toxical technical test, they take minimum 1 month. If you're talking about examination in Rosdravnadzor, it takes first stage, it takes 2 months, second stage 2 months, and clinical trials and preparation of documents. It takes time, because we need to get permission for import of samples. We need to get translation and legalization of documents. It's in our practice. It takes the steps which I told previously. It's many depends from a manufacturer how fast he would be able to give us documents and information. So if it would be done fast, then the faster would be done the registration process.
All right, thank you.
Any questions?
All right.
So Junaid, I have one last question. Can I ask, please?
Sure, sir. Please go ahead.
So Igor, is there any expiry of this registration? I mean, if a company get their family registered, will it be expired at some time, or it is for, I mean, as long as the company works?
Do you mean consists the term of registration for?
You can explain.
Игорь, имеется в виду срок годности есть или нет? По-моему, там нету срока годности.
No, there is. Я понял вопрос. Да. Registration certificate has no terms. It's works.
Lifetime. Yeah, I will reply. It's lifetime.
It's after the registration certificate is got, it will be valid the whole time. There's no.
Yeah, so it remains valid once the registration is obtained. It's a lifetime, unless the Russian authorities or the concerned authorities make some changes in future and may ask for a couple of more documents or information. But
Okay.
Once issued, it's valid for lifetime.
If we need to make changes in registration certificate, there is special procedure. In some cases, it can be make changes in registered certificate. It's a more easy procedure, or it can be make a procedure of changing in registration dossier. It's harder. In sometimes when we make changes in registration dossier, we need to make a new toxical technical test and clinical trials in sometimes. In sometimes it's not. It consists of what changes you're going to make in registration certificate.
Okay, any more
But
questions?
there is special procedure for this.
Oh,
Any other questions?
ओके जुनैद, जाकिर साहब आप तो हैं, जिशान साहब भी हैं?
जी हाँ, आई एम हियर, आई एम अवेलेबल।
ओके, ये अब हम थोड़ी सी उर्दू में कर लेते हैं बात।
जी जी।
देखिए जी, जाकिर साहब आपसे भी ये रिक्वेस्ट होगी कि आप भी अपने प्लेटफॉर्म पे लेट्स टेक दिस अप विद मिनिस्ट्री के साथ ये जो सब्सिडी वाला है, और एसोसिएशन से भी मैं जिशान साहब आपको भी कहूंगा कि आप भी टेकअप करें। मैं पिछले 3 साल से इसको टेकअप कर रहा हूँ कि
जी नासिर साहब, हमने ऑलरेडी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉमर्स के साथ और ईडीएफ में इसकी हमारे वो चलेगी हुई है प्रपोजल कि स्पेशली रशियन फेडरेशन के अंदर जो है ना वो हमें सब्सिडी दी जाए, क्योंकि एसएमईज के लिए इतने ज्यादा पैसे खर्च करना पॉसिबल नहीं होता। तो इस वजह से वी हैव ऑलरेडी सबमिटेड आवर प्रपोजल और वी आर वेटिंग फॉर एन आउटकम। वी आर एक्टिवली परसुइंग।
बड़ी अच्छी बात है ये। उस पे मेरे से भी वो मिनिस्ट्री कमेंट्स मांगेगी और मैं उसको जस्टिफाई करूंगा, क्योंकि देखें यहाँ जो है दो चीजें हैं। एक तो इनकी एज पॉपुलेशन जो है, या कहें कि जो लाइफ स्पैन है, लॉन्जिविटी है, वो बढ़ रही है। जैसे 2019 तक जो 2000 से कंपेयर करें अगर, और 2019 पे कंपेयर करें तो 8 साल इनकी जो लॉन्जिविटी है वो बढ़ी है। पहले इनकी एवरेज एज थी 64.8 और अब 73.5 के करीब आ गई है, और अगले 8 साल में एक्सपेक्टेड कि इट विल गो फर्दर 78 ईयर्स तक। तो ये इनकी पॉपुलेशन एजिंग है, इनको ये मार्केट में ये इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स की रिक्वायरमेंट बढ़ेगी। इनकी टोटल इंपोर्ट अभी भी हमारी टोटल एक्सपोर्ट से जो पूरी वर्ल्ड वाइड है उससे ज्यादा है। तो वी नीड टू पुश ऑन दिस थिंग। मतलब इट्स रियली ओनली एलिमेंट, ये मैं अंडरस्टैंड, आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि जी ये जो इसका फीस वाला है इसीलिए मैंने इसको टेक अप किया, बट वी नीड टू मेक कलेक्टिव एफर्ट इन इट
इंशाल्लाह।
और टीडैप भी विल, आई बिलीव, डेफिनेटली सपोर्ट दिस।
Surely, sir.
जी जुनैद, बस अब आप फर्दर।
हमारी जो एसोसिएशन है उनको भी चाहिए कि सभी एजुकेशन को पार्टिसिपेट करें और एक्टिवली।
फारूक साहब आप रिपीट कीजिएगा प्लीज।
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि जो हमारी एसोसिएशन के लोग हैं सर्जिकल इक्विपमेंट के, दे शुड आल्सो पार्टिसिपेट एक्टिवली एग्रेसिवली इन द एग्जीबिशन जो रशिया में होती है सर्जिकल है ना, उसमें जाके कांटेक्ट एस्टैब्लिश हो ना, तो वहाँ के जो लोग होते हैं इंपोर्टर्स, वो भी थोड़ा सा प्रेशर बना के उस चीज को जो रजिस्ट्रेशन का प्रोसेस है उसको थोड़ा हेल्प कर सकते हैं एक्सपीडाइट करवाने के लिए, अगर वो इंटरेस्टेड हो गया हमारी प्रोडक्ट्स में। तो ये चीज क्या होती है कि कलेक्टिवली काम करना पड़ेगा, यहाँ से पाकिस्तानी जो हमारे एक्सपोर्टर्स हैं और वहाँ के जो इंपोर्टर्स हैं, जब ये कॉन्टेक्ट स्टैब्लिश हो जाएंगे स्ट्रांगली, लेकिन ये उसी वक्त मुमकिन है जो हमारी एसोसिएशन के लोग भी एक्टिवली उस एग्जीबिशन में जाएं और उन एग्जीबिशंस को टीडीएफ अगर सब्सिडाइज कर रही है और हेल्प कर रही है एक्सपोर्टर्स के लिए, तो दैट वुड बी अ ग्रेट हेल्प यू नो फॉर द एसोसिएशन ऑफ द सर्जिकल इक्विपमेंट जो भी कुछ उसके अंदर है। तो वहाँ के लोग भी बड़े हेल्प कर रहे हैं।
सब हम लोग
फारूक अफजल साहब, उसका मैं इसका जवाब देता हूँ। फारूक अफजल साहब, आप उसका ये है कि ये जो हमारी अभी जो एक्सपोर्ट जो 6 मिलियन जितनी है, ये इसी अरेंजमेंट के तहत है कि हमारे जो लोग आते थे जो टीडैप की सब्सिडाइज्ड एग्जीबिशंस में पार्टिसिपेट करने, तो उनको कोई ना कोई ऐसी रशियन कंपनी मिल जाती थी जो कि उनके साथ कोई अरेंजमेंट कर लेती थी कि जी यहाँ की कॉस्ट वो कर ले और रजिस्टर करवा दे, और पाकिस्तानी कंपनी देन कैन ओनली सेल टू दैट कंपनी, और वो फिर ठीक है कि वो पाकिस्तानी मैन्युफैक्चरर तो अपना प्रॉफिट उसमें जो भी उसको है मिल रहा है, लेकिन जो वो रशियन कंपनी उस पर बहुत कमा रही है क्योंकि उसको एक्सक्लूसिविटी मिल गई है। लेकिन ऐसे केसेस बहुत कम हैं। आई हैव बीन वर्किंग ऑन इट। मैंने इस पे बड़ा काम किया है कि जब ये हमारे डेंटल एक्सपो में आते थे लोग, उससे पहले जो ये रशियन इंपोर्टर्स हैं उनके साथ मीटिंग्स भी करता था कि जी कोई ऐसा अरेंजमेंट के किसी एक कंपनी के साथ मिलके पाकिस्तानी के साथ आप पार्टनर कर लें। यूजुअली रशियन कंपनीज इस तरह नहीं जाती। उनका ये होता है कि जी आप रजिस्टर करवा लें। दूसरा, ये खुद रजिस्टर करवाने का फायदा ये है कि आप फिर किसी एक के साथ एक्सक्लूसिविटी नहीं होगी। अगर लेट्स से कंपनी ए ने अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स रजिस्टर करवा लिए तो दे आर ओपन टू सेल टू एनीबॉडी। अगर उनको कोई रशियन पार्टनर लेके करेंगे तो फिर वो सिर्फ उनको बेचेंगे, फिर आगे वो रशियन है कि वो आगे जिसको और किस किस को उसने देना है, और उसमें ये इस किस्म के इश्यूज आते हैं। बाकी एग्जीबिशंस में रेगुलर पार्टिसिपेशन थी डेंटल एक्सपो में। एक और मैंने टीडैप को रिकमेंड की थी, लेकिन अब तो खैर जो फिजिकल एग्जीबिशंस हैं आई थिंक इट विल बी अनदर ईयर और सो, और जब तक ये वैक्सीनेशन एडमिनिस्टर नहीं होती कि होंगी तो वो तो उसमें कोई इशू नहीं है। मगर टीडैप हैज ऑलवेज बीन सब्सिडाइजिंग द पार्टिसिपेशन इन ऑल एग्जीबिशंस।
ठीक, थैंक यू।
और कोई क्वेश्चन अगर कोई साहब करना चाहे?
विजय भाई कर दे, विजय का।
Then let's moving on. Before vote of thanks, I would like to thank Mr. Eiger for sharing this valuable information with us. Thanks a lot, sir. Now I would like to request Mr. Zakir Jafar, Chairman Pak Russia Business Council FPCCI, for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Junaid Saab. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure and it's my honor to convey the vote of thanks from the Pakistan-Russia Business Council. We are a non-profit. We're acting on behalf of the Federation of Chamber of Commerce, and we support initiatives like these taken by the TDAP and the Minister of Trade at the Pakistan Embassy in Moscow. I think it's a very, very well taken initiative, and it has given a lot of good insight into the issues that exporters are facing with registration, with certification, and how to overcome these challenges. I would like to thank Dr. Hamid Ali Saab, the Director General of TDAP, Mr. Nasir Hamid Saab, the Minister of the Trade at the Pakistan Embassy in Russia, respected Mr. Zishan Tariq, Chairman of the Surgical Instruments Association. I believe Mr. Jahangir Bajwa could not attend due to other reasons. Respected Mr. Igar, Start Steve, we learned a lot from you today. Thank you very much for your presence, who is the customer specialist, and valued guests for their time today. I believe that we had a very comprehensive and overview of the issues being faced by the industry. And I think this will not be the first session, and this is a platform right now in today's age to continue this communication open. And we are here as your local partners to support the Russian importers, even the Pakistani exporters from Pakistan, to seek help from us in any way that we can support your venture to enhance Pakistan exports to Russia. With this, I'd like to thank you all once again for your time, and it's been an excellent meeting. We hope to see you all soon, very soon, inshallah. Good day and good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the end of today's webinar. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you, Junaid. Thank you, Mr. Igar. Thank you, Zakir Saab. Thank you, Zishan Saab.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ji. बहुत शुक्रिया.